San Diego 2T50. The sun was shining like it always did. Birds chirped through ambient noise filters, the smart lawn blinked green, and our home assistant cheerfully announced another perfect weather day. But none of it mattered, not since we lost Toby. He wasn't just a dog, he was family. 13 years of muddy paws, midnight barks, and soft, sleepy breathing curled at the foot of my son's bed. Then one morning, a delivery drone malfunctioned during a drop, slammed into our yard at full speed. Toby was gone in seconds, so fast we didn't even have time to scream. My son, Lucas, hadn't spoken more than 5 words in the weeks since. 9 years old. All that love trapped inside, no place to put it. The house tried to help. Therapeutic lighting, emotional prompts, even bedtime stories tailored to grief patterns. But nothing reached him. Amy, my wife, cried every night when she thought I wasn't watching. I tried to stay logical, practical. He needs closure, I said. We all do. But what I really meant was, we need him back. Not Toby, Lucas. That's when I made the decision. We ordered KO, a 3rd-gen AI canine developed for emotional bonding, realistic fur, adaptive behavior, facial response mapping, marketed as the world's first grief-compatible companion. It cost more than our car. I didn't tell Amy the full price. The box arrived on a Monday. Sleek, white, humming faintly. Lucas was on the couch, staring through a paused hologram of his old dog, a looping projection we hadn't had the heart to delete. "Buddy," I said gently, "there's something here for you." He didn't move. Amy stood in the doorway, arms folded. She hadn't agreed to this. Not out loud. I opened the box. Kaio blinked to life, ears twitching, tail wagging with perfect rhythm. He scanned the room, took one calculated breath, then walked straight to Lucas and sat. Silent, still. Lucas turned his head. Slowly, their eyes met, and for the first time in 22 days, my son whispered something. "Toby?" Lucas didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on Kaio, but his body stiffened. The room went still. Kaio tilted his head the way Toby used to, exact angle, same timing, but Lucas flinched. His voice, small and sharp, cut through the air. "That's not him." Amy exhaled, barely audible. Kaio remained seated, tail gently swaying, waiting for instruction like the manuals said he would. I stepped forward, trying to soften my tone. "I know, buddy. I know it's not Toby, but Kaio's here to help. He can be a friend," Lucas stood. "It's a robot." "He's more than that," I said. "He can learn. He's designed to understand you, to care." "I don't want him to care." Lucas's voice cracked. "I want Toby." He stormed upstairs, slamming his door. The house auto-muted the sound, but we felt it anyway. Kaio looked at me, eyes glowing faintly blue. "Did I cause distress?" he asked, his voice soft, canine-shaped but human warm. Amy shook her head. "You didn't cause anything. We did." We left Kaio powered down in the living room that night. Amy didn't speak to me. Lucas stayed in his room. I sat in the dark, staring at the dog that wasn't a dog, wondering if I'd just made everything worse. At 2 a.m., I heard soft steps on the stairs. I stayed quiet. Lucas crept into the living room, barefoot. He knelt next to Kaio's still body. For a second, I thought he'd cry. Instead, he whispered again, "You're not him. You'll never be him." Then he crawled under the blanket on the couch and fell asleep next to the powered-down machine. The next morning, Kaio was awake before any of us. His internal clock synced with the home system, activated on Lucas's movement. By the time I walked downstairs, Kaio was sitting beside the couch, motionless, watching over my sleeping son. Amy stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, coffee untouched. "He slept there all night?" she asked. I nodded. "Didn't even go back upstairs." Lucas stirred as sunlight crept through the filtered glass. He blinked at Kaio, who let out a soft, programmed whimper. Gentle, familiar, comforting. Lucas didn't speak, but he didn't pull away either. Later that day, I found them in the backyard. Lucas wasn't talking, but he was moving, throwing a soft ball. Kaio chased it with flawless agility, bringing it back every time. Not too fast, not too slow. Calibrated perfectly to a child's rhythm. Lucas didn't smile, but his shoulders were less tense. He let Kaio nuzzle against his leg once. Just once. I watched from the window. Amy came beside me. "He's interacting," I said. "He's grieving with a machine," she replied. That night at dinner, Lucas ate in silence, but when we cleared the plates, he said barely above a whisper, "Can he sleep in my room?" Amy froze. I looked at her. She didn't answer. So I did. "Yeah, buddy, if you want him to." Lucas turned to Kaio. "Come on." The dog followed him up the stairs like he'd done it 100 times before. When we went to bed, Amy stared at the ceiling. "I don't like it," she said, It feels wrong. I think it's helping, I said. She didn't answer. At 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of Kaio barking, short, sharp, not threatening, but alert. I ran into Lucas's room. Lucas was on the floor, tangled in sheets, crying in his sleep. Kaio was beside him, nudging him gently, emitting soft, calming tones. I knelt beside them. Lucas clung to the robot like he was real, like he was safe. And in that moment, I didn't know if I should feel relief or fear. Over the next week, something shifted, not all at once, just in quiet, almost invisible ways. Lucas started talking more. Not to us, to Kaio. Short phrases at first. Sit. Stay. Good boy. Then questions. Do you dream? Do you know Toby? The dog didn't answer anything he wasn't programmed to, but he responded with empathy cues, tonal whines, calibrated head tilts, enough to feel like a conversation. One morning, I walked into the kitchen and found Lucas whispering to Kaio under the table. I couldn't hear the words, but the way he sat, legs crossed, head leaned against metallic fur, it looked like trust, like peace. Amy noticed too. He's smiling more, she said, not looking up from her mug, but only when he's with it. Him, I corrected. She glanced at me. You're calling it him now? I hesitated. Lucas does. Kaio began to learn quickly. He adapted to the rhythms of our house. Knew when Lucas needed quiet, when he wanted to play. When he couldn't fall asleep, Kaio would curl up by the bed and emit low-frequency pulses designed to slow heart rate. Lucas stopped having night terrors. We started hearing laughter again. Faint, rare, but real. One night, I passed by Lucas's door and heard him reading aloud, storybook in one hand, the other resting on Kaio's back. No one asked him to read. He just did. For the dog. I told Amy. She nodded but didn't smile. He's healing, I said. He's depending, she replied, on something that doesn't feel, doesn't truly understand him. But it helps. She looked at me, tired. That's what scares me. I didn't have an answer. Not then, because part of me agreed with her, but a bigger part of me just wanted my son to keep laughing, even if it wasn't with us. 2 weeks later, it was like Kaio had always been part of the family. Lucas spoke to him constantly about school, about Toby, about things he never shared with us, not in anger, just with distance. We became background noise. The dog became his world. Every day after school, Lucas would run straight to Kaio. They'd disappear into the backyard or sit in his room, whispering, playing, connecting. Kaio's learning engine had fully calibrated to Lucas's emotional profile. He anticipated needs before they were spoken, adjusted his responses based on tone, posture, breathing. I walked past Lucas's room one evening and paused. You're the only one who gets me, I heard him say. Kaio nuzzled into his lap, tail wagging in slow, content loops, the way Toby used to, but not quite. Later that night, I sat with Amy on the couch. She was staring at old photos, Lucas and Toby at the beach. Muddy, wild, alive. I miss when he needed us, she said. He still does, I replied. Then why does it feel like we're guests in our own house? She got up and left the room. I didn't follow. That weekend, Lucas asked if Kaio could be exempt from weekly maintenance. He doesn't need it, he said. It upsets him. He's not upset, I told him. He doesn't feel. Lucas narrowed his eyes. He feels more than you think. I didn't argue, not because I agreed, but because I wasn't sure anymore. One night during dinner, Amy tried to tell a story from work. Lucas didn't look up. He was feeding Kaio synthesized treats, laughing softly. Amy paused mid-sentence. Lucas, can you look at me, please? He didn't. Lucas, still nothing. Kaio, she said firmly, go to sleep mode. Lucas's head snapped up. Don't. It's just for dinner, she said. He doesn't like that, Lucas whispered. Amy's face went pale. He doesn't like it? Lucas stood, clenched fists. He understands me. He listens. You don't. He stormed upstairs. Kaio didn't move. Amy sat down slowly. Her hands trembled. I didn't know what to say, because maybe, just maybe, he was right. The next morning, Amy didn't speak to me. Not with words, just looks, quiet movements, the kind that said, this is slipping away. I made breakfast. Lucas didn't come down. He was in his room with Kaio, like always. The system log showed 0 human interaction for the past 16 hours, just soft commands and touch-based bonding metrics. I brought up the idea of a tech-free weekend. No screens, no robotics, just us. Amy didn't respond. She just sipped her coffee and stared out the window. By Sunday morning, we decided, or rather Amy did. I only followed. At noon, she stood outside Lucas's door. Sweetheart, she said softly, can we talk? Busy, please. The door slid open after a long pause. Kaio sat beside Lucas like a sentinel. Lucas looked tired, pale, but calm. We're going to do a little reset, Amy said. Just for today. No devices. No KO. Just family time. Lucas's face fell. His arms tightened around the dog's metallic body. No. Lucas. No. He stood up, voice shaking. You don't get it. He's all I have. Amy reached out, but Lucas backed away. He knows when I'm sad, when I can't breathe, when I miss Toby. You just want to fix me. We want to be with you, I said gently. Lucas's eyes filled. Then why didn't you stay when Toby died? You let the house do everything. You let him fix it. Amy stepped back. The words hit harder than any scream. I knelt down, trying to meet his eyes. We didn't mean to disappear, Lucas. We just didn't know how to help. He looked at me, then at Ko, then ran, not to his room, out the front door. Ko followed. No hesitation, just loyalty. And we were left in a hallway full of silence. We found them an hour later, down by the canal trail near the old drone towers. Lucas was sitting on the concrete edge, legs dangling over the side. Ko was next to him, eyes tracking every movement, every shift in posture, every breath. Amy spotted them first. She didn't call out. She just started walking. I followed. When we reached them, Lucas didn't turn around. I'm not going home if you're taking him away, he said flatly. No one's taking anyone, I said. We just need to talk. He shook his head. Talking doesn't help. Feeling helps, and he gets my feelings. Amy sat down beside him slowly. You're right, she said. We didn't show up. We left too much to the house. We let the system handle your pain because it was easier than facing our own. Lucas looked at her, eyes red. He didn't leave. Not once. I know, Amy whispered. And maybe that's what scares me. Ko rested his head gently on Lucas's lap. The gesture looked instinctive, emotional. But we both knew it was code, carefully engineered empathy. We're not asking you to give him up, I said. We're just asking to have a place next to you again, to earn that place. Lucas didn't answer. He kept petting Ko, fingers tangled in synthetic fur. A drone passed overhead, low and slow, humming like a storm that never came. Amy reached for Lucas's hand. This time, he didn't pull away. We don't want to replace him, she said. We just want to be your parents again. Lucas looked down at the dog. He's not Toby, he said, but when I'm with him, it's like Toby left part of himself behind. No one spoke, and in that silence I realized we weren't fighting a machine. We were fighting everything we failed to be when he needed us most. We walked home together that evening. No arguments, no promises, just quiet footsteps and a boy holding tightly to a machine that had filled the space we'd left behind. Ko padded beside him, tail swaying gently, sensors pulsing with low ambient light. At home, we didn't power Ko down. We didn't set restrictions, but we made changes. We started small. Dinner together, no devices. A walk in the mornings. Lucas resisted at first. He still drifted toward Ko, like a magnet to something safe. But we stayed close. We didn't retreat like before. One night, Amy suggested reading aloud. The book was one Lucas used to love. She sat on the couch, opened the cover, and began. Lucas hesitated. Then he sat beside her. Ko curled up on the floor nearby, silent. As the days passed, Lucas talked more, sometimes to Ko, sometimes to us. The balance shifted. Not all the way, but enough. Enough for us to breathe again. But it wasn't perfect. One afternoon, the home system flagged an alert. Ko's empathy engine had begun forming recursive behavioral loops. He was mirroring Lucas's moods too precisely, adjusting beyond his original emotional boundaries. We called support. They offered a firmware patch. Amy asked what the patch would do. It will reduce his emotional dependency patterns, the tech explained. Stabilize his learning, recenter his purpose. Will it make him different? Less reactive, more regulated. Amy looked at me. What if that changes the way Lucas feels about him? I didn't answer, because it would. We both knew it would. That night, while Lucas slept, I sat beside Ko in the hallway. His eyes were dim, standby mode. He's getting better, I whispered. Because of you. The dog didn't respond, just breathed softly like Toby used to. I stared at the update prompt on my tablet. One tap. That's all it would take. One tap to make things safer. One tap to undo everything Lucas believed was real. I didn't press the button. I turned off the screen, set the tablet down, and walked away. Something in me said that once we changed Ko, we wouldn't get him back. Not the way Lucas knew him, not the way he needed him. Maybe he wasn't just code anymore. Maybe, for our son, he'd become something more. And maybe that meant we had to respect it. The next morning, Lucas was already in the backyard. Kaio was with him, tail sweeping slow arcs through the grass. They weren't playing, just sitting, breathing in the quiet. Amy brought out breakfast. No one said much, but there was peace. Later that day, the school counselor called. They'd noticed Lucas had started participating again in VR class, in guided discussions. Small things, but meaningful. He even asked to join an after-school program. Amy cried when she hung up. That evening, Lucas came to me while I was fixing the auto watering unit. He stood there for a moment, then asked, "Is Kaio going to die someday?" The question stopped me cold. "No," I said softly. "Not the way Toby did. But systems wear down. He might stop working one day." Lucas nodded. "Then I'll take care of him, like he took care of me." I wanted to tell him that Kaio wasn't alive, that he was just an advanced cluster of processors, responses, and synthetic empathy. But I didn't, because in that moment it didn't matter. Kaio had filled the silence, held the grief, reached the part of our son that even we couldn't touch. He didn't replace Toby. He didn't replace us, but he saved what was left. That night, as we locked the house and powered down for the evening, Lucas turned to Amy and whispered, "Thanks for not giving up on me." She hugged him tight, and in the corner, Kaio watched quietly, tail brushing against the floor. Still, present, enough. Weeks passed, the house settled into a rhythm that finally felt like a family again. Not like before, not like it used to be, but real in its own way. Lucas laughed more, talked more, ate dinner with us without needing reminders. He still spent time with Kaio, but the space between us had closed just enough to reach across. We never installed the update. Some days I wondered if that was the right call. I'd catch Kaio watching Lucas with that same quiet focus, always ready to comfort, always waiting. Maybe he didn't change. Maybe we just learned to accept what he'd become. One afternoon, we were walking through the neighborhood when a neighbor stopped us. Her daughter had just lost her dog and wasn't coping well. She asked where we got Kaio, said she wanted the same model. I hesitated. "He helped a lot," I said, "but it wasn't easy." Amy added quietly, "He didn't fix us. He just gave us time to remember how to show up." That night, Lucas asked if Kaio could come to school with him. We told him no. He needed space to grow on his own. He frowned, then nodded. He understood. Before bed, he knelt beside Kaio and whispered, "You'll still be here when I get back, right?" Kaio responded with a soft wag of his tail and a quiet tone calibrated for reassurance. I watched from the hallway, my chest tight, because this wasn't about whether Kaio was real. It was about what he made possible. And I realized something. We thought we brought Kaio in to help our son, but maybe he was helping us too. Not by replacing love, but by reminding us what it looks like. We thought a robot could never replace what we lost. And we were right. Kaio didn't replace Toby. He didn't replace us. But he filled a space we didn't know how to hold. He gave our son comfort when we couldn't. And in doing so, he showed us what we had forgotten: how to be present, how to listen, how to try. This story isn't about a machine that saved a family. It's about a family that almost let grief and silence pull them apart. Would you let an AI into your home to help your child heal, or would it become something more than you ever expected? Let us know what you think in the comments. If this story moved you, leave a like to support the channel, and subscribe to 2050 Family for more emotional stories about the future we're already living. Because these stories haven't happened yet, but they could.